Today for you, I'm going to recreate a very simple meal, a vegetable dish of okra. It's called okra or Bhindi fry, and you always see this in Indian restaurants. It's on their menu, and I wanted to show you how easy it is to make this at home. It's delicious, and when you make this at home, you can not only adjust the seasoning, but you can adjust the quantity of how much uh, more or less you want to make. So come along with me as we make this very simple, easy, but very delicious okra vegetable dish. So let's go ahead and see how to make this. And at first I'm going to show you how to prep the okra, because that's the key to this dish being really yummy, is prepping the okra in a different way. So let's go and get started. So a key to a great okra fry is to make sure that your okras are nice and dry, so that way it doesn't get slimy when you start cooking it, because one of the things that happens when you cut okra is that it's going to get slimy. So I just washed my okra thoroughly. Now I'm going to take a minute and actually thoroughly dry each of the okra. I'll just use a paper towel and dry it so that it doesn't get slimy when I cook it. So I'm going to thoroughly dry each and then cut each of the okra into small pieces. So like I said, a key to a good bhinda fry is that the okra should be very dry. It took me just a minute to kind of wipe off the moisture of each of them because they were washed. And now all I'm gonna do is, and I can do like more than one at a time, 2 or 3 at a time, and cut them into small pieces like this. So I'm just gonna cut off the tips here and then just cut them into small pieces like this. And I'll do the rest of them and then show you the next step. So I have all my okras nice and cut. Now one other tip I'm going to give you, and that's optional, but it is a really good step, is to just sprinkle a little bit of either rice flour or chickpea flour or even cornstarch over the okra. And when I say a little bit, I mean just a sprinkling. You're not gonna drench anything. So I have less than it's about 1 tablespoon, and all I'm going to do is just sprinkle lightly on the okra, and that also absorbs that moisture to prevent it from being slimy. Now if you skip this step, it's okay, because it's not going to alter the taste or anything. It just prevents that little extra those little slimy texture that you sometimes get with okra. And I didn't even use all of it. You see, I just lightly, very lightly coated my okra pieces. And now I'm just going to go ahead and start cooking the okra. And we're just going to shallow fry them and then add a little bit of onion and tomato, and that's it. It's a very simple dish, but it's super tasty. So let's go ahead and see what to do next. So again, here are my okra, and they have been very lightly coated with rice flour. And like I said, you can coat it again with chickpea flour or even a little bit of cornstarch, but very like dusting of any of those things. And again, if you skip it, that's okay too. So this is about a pound of okra. So for that, I have 1 small onion roughly chopped, and then 1 good sized tomato, and I'm going to chop that roughly, and about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic, and that's all I need in terms of my produce. So I have my big frying pan, and in it I have about 3 tablespoons of oil, just heating at fairly high heat. So it's like between medium to medium high, and I'm going to cook the okra initially for about a minute or 2 in that high heat, and then turn it down. So I'm not adding anything right now. All I'm going to do is fry the okra for about a minute or so without adding anything else. So I'm gonna go ahead and test it, see if it's hot. And Yep, it's bubbling, so I know it's hot, so I'm going to go ahead and add my okra. And again, if you have less quantity of okra, then use less oil. And again, this is just plain okra, nothing added except for a light dusting of rice flour. And I'm not going to cover yet. I'm just going to shallow fry on about medium to medium high heat for about a minute or two. So they've been frying for about a minute and they're coming along nicely. There's very little slimy texture. And when I say slimy, if you can see these threads, that's what I meant. So, you know, again, it doesn't affect the taste or anything, but, you know, if you don't like the texture. So now they're fairly separated. And that's what you want, because you want them to get nice and crispy. So one thing about okra, when cooking okra, is do not add salt until the very end. That's usually not what we do for the rest of the vegetables, but okra is one thing where we don't add salt till the end, because salt releases water, and that's not what you want. You want this to get crispy first and all that moisture to evaporate, so that when you add salt, there's nothing to do. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my chopped onion and a little bit of garlic. So here's my chopped onion with slices of garlic, and of course I had to add one hot chili pepper. So I'm adding that, and then here's my tomatoes, and I'm gonna wait and add until like about 5 minutes before the okra is tender. So I'm not gonna add that yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and add this. And again, Indian cooking is very flexible. I mean, if you don't like garlic, don't add garlic. If you love garlic, add more garlic. You know, you can add as little or as much chili pepper as you want. So very, very flexible cooking. All you need to know is the method of cooking, but the ingredient can vary. You know, if you don't want to add too much onion, add a little bit. I mean, the onion does add a little bit of nice taste to it. So if you can add even a little bit, that would really help. But if you don't want it at all, you don't have to. Just don't add more onions than okra. That's the only requirement. So, you know, you can add as little or as much as you want, but just make sure that the quantity of okra. Otherwise, you'll become like an onion sabji with the little okra versus the okra with the little onion. So I'm going to go ahead and cook this for another 5 minutes, and then we're going to add our tomatoes and then the spices. So right now there have been no spices added. There's nothing. It's just I fried the okra for a few minutes until they got a little crispy on the bottom, and then added my garlic and onion pieces. And again, I'm going to let them cook without cover for about 5 more minutes. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes, and now I'm going to go ahead and add some spices to my vegetable mixture. And again, the spices are very simple, nothing that you might not have. So it's just red cayenne pepper powder, some turmeric. I'm not going to add salt yet. So turmeric, about a spoon, half a spoon of cayenne pepper, and again, that's up to your taste. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon of coriander powder. Just mix it a little bit. And see, because we took care in drying our okra, it's nice and all nicely separate pieces. And it doesn't take that long to cook. So okra is very simple to cook. Don't spend $20 at the restaurant getting this. You can easily whip this up at home, no problem. So, and then I'm just going to add my tomatoes, and I'm going to lower the heat to to low and then cover it and cook for about 5 minutes. It's been about 5 minutes and we've steamed the tomato nicely. Now I'm going to go ahead and add salt. So remember, we have not added any salt. So I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and you can again adjust that whenever you need it. And then we're going to add our So now that we've added our salt, we're going to go ahead and mix everything in. And as soon as the tomatoes are soft, the dish is done. And you can check the doneness of okra by just take one and just kind of try to cut it with your spatula. If it goes through easily like this, then it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and cook it for another 5 minutes to make sure everything is incorporated, the tomatoes are nice and soft, and then we're done. And we can enjoy this with a nice roti, naan, with rice. I like it with a little plain rice and yogurt. It's just delicious. So very easy to make our okra fry or bhindi fry. Bhindi is again okra in Hindi. And our bhindi fry is done. I'm going to just finish it off with a little bit of garam masala. Just sprinkling, you don't need that much. And let's go ahead and plate this. And our okra fry is done. I just garnished it with a little bit of coriander. This was very easy to make, with prep, I would say less than half hour. Cooking time was less than 20 minutes. And again, it's very easy to make. So, and you know, when you get it in restaurant, it is much oilier, and because they, you know, tend to fry it, sometimes even deep fry it. So it's much nicer to cook on your own at home. And again, it's delicious, very few ingredients. So please give this a try. Don't forget to share and subscribe to this channel, and I really hope you enjoy making this delicious meal at home.